Here in America, we are able to live in clean environments with fresh air and fresh water. But in China, there is mass pollution, which is causing many health problems and destroying China's beautiful environment. The air Chinese breathe is so polluted that the residents there compare it to living in a smoking lounge. And nearly half of China's water is polluted, and therefore it's almost half of it is unusable. Today I'm going to advocate for the Chinese people to help them finally take a big gasp of fresh air by controlling waste released from manufacturers, which would then help clean the environment and make it a safer place for the Chinese people to live. So my main points for today are explaining the factors that are causing environmental issues in China, how pollution has caused unsafe air and water, and how we can help advocate for the Chinese to make them go green, and how their government can help them become a green country. Let's start off first by talking about the factors. By any measure, air and water pollution, soil contamination, shrinking biodiversity, China is amidst an environmental crisis, and that is said by Anki Schroeder from Green Varieties. The root cause of China's pollution is the fossil fuels. China is the largest coal-burning country and producer in the world, and it puts out many carbon emissions, and is responsible for 1/3 of the planet's greenhouse gases. And from the pictures, you can tell how dirty the air is from the nuclear plants, and you can see how bad the water is from a chemical spill. Coal is burned so much because it is 90% of the country's, is 70% of the country's energy source. And the coal factories are destroying and contaminating the farmlands. And nearly 1/6 of China's farmlands are contaminated from these factories. Many of the fields in China, as you can see from the picture, are surrounded by factories. With the factories dumping near the farmlands, it's contaminating the plants, and therefore the Chinese people are consuming the crops and causing them to get ill and some deaths. Many of the reasons the plants are contaminated is because there are high levels of toxic metals in the Chinese wastewater, and the Chinese farmers use the wastewater for irrigation for their crops, which then contaminates it. In China Daily stated, soil contaminated with heavy metals is eroding the foundation of the country's food and safety and becoming a looming public health hazard. And last year, nearly 13 million corn crops were contaminated, and 12 million grain crops were contaminated, and half the rice in China was tainted with cadmium, which causes kidney failure and cancer. According to the EPA, which air quality scale, any pollution rating over 300 means unsafe to breathe. And in January in China last year, in Beijing, 19 days were over 300 index. And from the picture right here, you can tell that when it's 300, it's very unhealthy to breathe the air. And in January 12th, one day during that 19-day period, the rating reached 886, which is beyond the chart and is extremely hazardous to the Chinese people. Pollution is so strong it's causing many health problems and has made cancer its leading cause of death. And from the chart you can see how the increase of cancer has gone up and how it's expected to go up drastically the next 30 years or so. chemical waste in rivers isn't uncommon in China either. And from the picture right there is a picture of people pulling pigs out of a river that was contaminated by benzene, which is a cancer-causing agent. And it killed over 1,000 pigs, and they floated throughout the river in Shanghai, China, which contaminated the river even more and spread the benzene chemical to the shores, which could have affected certain crops, which could have got to the Chinese people and caused them to get ill too also. Now what we can do to help advocate and make China go green. Li Qiang stated, which is Beijing's new prime minister, "Air pollution makes me quite upset, and I vow to show even greater resolve and make more vigorous efforts to clean up." And for China to go green, their government officials really have to realize how bad the environment is getting, and they need to realize what they need to do to clean up China, because one day China's terrible environment could end up affecting the U.S. because we have many factories and own a lot of stuff over in China and get many of our products from China. So now to conclude China's environmental issues. China is choking on its own success and makes lots of money, but doesn't realize it's actually killing many of their people from the air pollution. So today I've talked about the factors causing environmental issues, how pollution has caused unsafe water and air, and how we can help the Chinese, and how the Chinese government can help the Chinese population out. And I'd like to thank you guys for listening to my speech about China.